and you get a numbskull like me listening and nodding along, being like, yep, this all makes perfect sense. I actually have no idea what is going on.
Did Katy Perry see the Earth? That's what we really need to know.
Yeah.
I think she did.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I didn't know if I was supposed to give that away.
I think we can. I mean, well, it's too late. Don't listen to this if you haven't read it.
Let's go beyond the first page. Let's go beyond the first page.
Welcome back, Second Pagers. This is Beyond the First Page podcast with siblings Phoebe, Phil, and Isaac. I'm Phoebe.
I'm Phil.
I'm Isaac.
And this is Club Meeting 49, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a book club style podcast, so if you don't want Project Hail Mary to be ruined for you, please read the book and then come on and listen to the podcast. And because Project Hail Mary is a sci-fi and about space travel, I wanted to ask you guys today if you would ever take a passenger rocket to space ever in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Phil?
Yeah, super. Yes, for me. I think that there's like...
Would you currently, with the current science?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said that like the two most common professions that a first grader wants to be are president and an astronaut, and low-key probably the two most dangerous professions that you could pick besides maybe like an assassin, and that's just how cool they are. So I do think that yes, I would definitely go. I think that they're one thing that I likely will die without ever seeing the Earth, but I think that besides maybe like my children being born, that is something that I would actually like top.
Like see the Earth from
space.
From space.
Yeah.
Because the passenger spacecraft right now, you don't see, you just like are in space. You don't get to see the Earth.
Oh, I don't want to do that then. I want the experience.
You want to go further out.
I want to see the Earth.
Do you want to go, that's at least like to the moon, I think.
Actually,
I'm talking about
from the International Space Station.
Yeah.
I'm talking about my ass, I don't know.
Did Katy Perry see the Earth? That's what we really need to know.
Yeah.
I think she did.
Well, you see it. You see the Earth.
Like, I don't need to see the whole Earth.
I want to see. Was, like, looking inside.
I want to see at least a continent. I want to see a full. That's not Europe. So I want to see Asia size of the Earth at least.
But you would go. Yeah. Okay, Isaac. What about you?
I think with the current technology, I don't think I would.
Yeah.
I think that by the time we are like live our life though, that like passenger space travel to like something new, like the International Space Station that's like a hotel or something will probably exist.
Mm-hmm.
So once it like becomes more like air travel, like I probably would do that.
Okay.
But right now, like kind of what Phil is saying, like the risk to reward is not there for me.
So is Katy Perry braver than you, Isaac?
No, I think she just probably
got
paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
Like I think the risk for her was probably there. Like she was like if I was getting paid to like advertise something or like I'd probably do it. But I don't know that much about it, but it just seems too risky to me.
Yeah. I think with the current technology, if it doesn't improve by like significant amounts, like where it's like basically a plane trip travel, I wouldn't go unless I was old and like all my kids were financially taken care of. And it was like Jaden and I's like maiden voyage to, if he really wanted to go see space. But
like Jaden,
I don't really have any desire.
Satellites and they like are happy when everything goes well.
Yes.
That to me is not
that's what I was going to say.
I think that's true.
Like
but then
things are
also,
still going
though,
pretty
like,
wrong. Not even on passenger
So here's the thing.
Passenger.
Like Peter Thiel and all these really rich, weird dudes who get like blood transfusions and are like obsessed with immortality. Like if Bezos is willing to go in space, like
But
it's
have
got to
they?
be relatively safe.
Bezos sent his wife to space, but not
Yeah.
Wait,
himself.
Bezos
but
didn't
Elon
go?
hasn't gone to space. Bezos hasn't.
No.
No, never
None of
mind.
those people have
He was
gone.
like, I can risk her, but
Wait, so
I
he
will
sent
not be
his
going.
wife?
They're launching rockets that they are not going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I probably wouldn't. No, I
Oh,
still
no,
probably
that's
would.
not to convince you not to.
No,
think,
I would.
like,
I
given
would.
the
but
opportunity,
I thought
you
Richard.
would be silly to say no, but I would be like really terrified. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I would go. I would feel like, God, I really let that slip away. But then when
Yeah.
that blew up, like I'd be like, wow, I'm a genius.
You'd be like, dodged a bullet. It's like the whole submarine thing.
oh, I would go on a spaceship before I went on a submarine, though.
Yeah.
I would agree with that too. You would not catch me dead on a submarine.
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay, interesting. I wanted to know what you guys would do with that. Phil, you kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
Little risky, risk taker. That's good. Isaac, will you give us Project Hail Mary in 15 seconds?
Yeah, so our main character, Ryland Grace, wakes up in a spaceship with amnesia, so he doesn't know who he is, where he is, and what he's doing. He figures out he's on this spaceship, and like through flashbacks and doing little scientific experiments, he puts together that he is on a mission to save Earth from this space microbe astrophage. He's in this solar system that has astrophage in it, but their sun isn't being affected like our sun is. He meets his alien friend named Rocky, and they work together to solve their astrophage problem because Rocky's planet is also suffering from this astrophage invasion. And they figure it out and end up saving both planets due to some pretty sacrificial moves by Ryland.
Yeah. Meaning he never gets to go back to Earth.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I've already
I didn't
given you
know
a
if I was
spoiler alert.
supposed to give that away.
I think we can. I mean, seriously, don't. Well, it's too late. Don't listen to this if you haven't read it. I'll put that in the caption. Yeah, I think that, as I mentioned on our last discussion, this was probably one of my most favorite books of the year. And partially the reason that I would not go to space is because I just don't have any interest in space. I don't have any interest in thinking about the end of the world or any type of life-altering space travel. And so this book just came as such a shock to me because it was so good. And I think it had the right amount of doom and gloom as far as like world ending aspect goes. But it also had the friendship with him and Rocky, which was very cute. Like Rocky was just this like lovable, disgusting looking alien. The author like somehow made this spider looking thing be cute. And if you listen to it, the beeping was really cute too.
The beeping was cool.
Yeah. I really liked how they did that.
Yeah, really.
And it was cool because it wasn't there was just so many good elements. I don't know that I could pinpoint one, but I think it was like I said, for me, I don't like the end of the world post-apocalyptic sci-fi. I like a Star Wars sci-fi where it's so completely the Earth is not involved, you know, and like Dune, like that interests me. But this is just a bit too real, and I think something like this could really happen. And I don't know if there would be a Ryland Grace to step up and actually make that ultimate
Well, he
sacrifice.
wasn't.
So there
He
wasn't.
didn't, yeah,
he was
they
forced.
forced him
that's
on.
true.
That
Yeah.
woman was the
That's
only badass
true.
in the entire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, everyone is
But-
gonna hate me. I'm a dictator. Needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eva saw the potential in him before, you know, he saw the potential himself, I guess. But who knows if we would have that or not. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And I liked the dramatic middle part where they separate ways and then he goes, I mean, that is the ultimate that's when he ultimately makes the decision. He knows he's not going to go back. And that was, the drama was great. I also thought the explanation of scientific
Yes.
things in this book was amazing.
Yeah.
Did you felt the same?
Yeah,
Isaac?
that's my favorite part of this book.
Yeah.
That is like the writing to write about these scientific experiments in like space and physics stuff. And you get a numbskull like me listening and nodding along, being like, yep, this all makes perfect sense. And you're like, I actually have no idea what is going on, but I'm like, yes, great choice, Rylan. I would have done the exact same thing. That
It's
is
actually a
exactly what you
thing.
needed to do there. And all this physics checks out. Is just like so impressive to me. Unlike anything I've ever read before. I think that is so cool
Yeah.
and really made this science fiction story, like you said, Phoebe, like so relatable, and like you became like so attached to it. That I didn't even really like until you said in the beginning or before we started recording, like kind of like a feel good story. This kind of was at the end. But like that didn't even occur to me because it was so well written scientifically, yet to a
Right.
layman, not to a
Mhm.
you weren't like above it.
A
All the
science
actual
geek.
stuff was over anybody's head who was not a physicist, but you understood it as like someone who has no idea what the hell he's actually talking about. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
just
and
unlike
I think that what he did, because if you do know a little bit, I don't know much about science, but I do know that silicon-based life forms, like that's not as plausible as he made it out to be. That's a very unstable structure of a chemical, and that's I think what Rocky's is a silicon-based life form, and this entire thing of radiation, like that also doesn't check out. His like mild exposure to UV radiation, but being that close to the star. And I looked at this too, because I was just like, okay, I'm so convinced by his scientific explanation that I'm like, why isn't astrophage a thing? And
Yeah.
that, like, yeah.
You're like, we
And
should
so
be
I
coming up
was-
with this.
Right. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what is wrong scientifically about this? And the things that he does are just stretches. They're not these crazy things. Even like, yeah,
Incorrect.
like this space-time. Well, I mean, it is incorrect because they're stretches, but it's not like
Right.
it's like space-time continuum. Like the numbers are just off. Or like the amount of energy that can be in an astrophage it was like physically impossible, like would break physics down of just that tiny energy in that, but not by that much. So that was very cool. And I think that he did that so well. But yeah, would definitely agree that this was like, it made me feel smart reading it, which that's what's cool about a book.
And I think, Phil, too, like
Yeah.
there is that and that to me, I didn't really look into that. I didn't really think about the plausibility or not because it's an alien. So already we're in like conjecture. So like to me, technically other alien life forms don't have to abide by the physics that we understand. But even the little scientific experiments he does when he wakes up to measure gravity and measure realize he's in a centrifuge and all that kind of stuff. Like I think most of that has to be somewhat relatively true and it currently exists on Earth. And the way he just talks through it and writes through the like scientific thought process of a school teacher / scientist, it was just so awesome. It made this guy seem like our dad is a elementary school and middle school teacher. Yeah. It'd be like dad got launched into space and needed to use the Dewey Decimal System to solve, whatever crisis. Like that's what he was doing.
What's happening?
Yeah, and I just thought that was
at
so
the same
cool.
time, it is so cool. But at the same time, like I think about Aunt Sarah. She's a science teacher. We have an aunt who's a science teacher. I think a lot of the things, like you said, Isaac, the little tests, especially at the beginning, I think kids are being taught.
Okay, he is not a science teacher.
Yeah,
I mean, like he was also like writing against the Nobel Prize winners and like coming up with strains of science.
Right.
He's more like a tenured professor that retired into science.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but he knew the basics. Sometimes you're overthinking it a little bit. He kept it simple, at the beginning.
I don't think those were the basics.
No, I think that was pretty advanced.
He was priming
like I don't know if Aunt Sarah is qualified to do
calculations. I think what the author did really well too to make you like sort of accept that a little better was that Rocky was just like a straight genius. So when he could do 3 times 3 multiplication in his head, it looked like elementary compared to Rocky just being able to do any calculation ever.
Yeah.
But really,
From that
nobody
species
can really
brains
do
where-
3 by. Yeah, right. It was just like his incredible smartness paled in comparison to Rocky's, but I think that made it a bit more realistic for us. So that was cool.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's really cool about this book, it's kind of like a Helen Keller concept of it's so hard to think to yourself like I could eventually understand this other like the fact that they could understand each other I think was really cool, and the way that they went about teaching each other's languages. I really enjoyed reading about, and it's just so incredible.
I think that for me was a little bit of a leap of faith. Because I
The
even wrote down like
linguistics?
several times, I'm like, how did we get to them understanding each other so quickly? Because I understand he did the computer program. Not that I'm trying to poke a hole in it. Like it again, this is a science fiction book, so it doesn't really matter. But I was just like, from a personal reading level, I understood he did the code, and then it would hear Rocky's tones and translate it for him. But then was he just remembering what the tones sounded like?
I don't think
Or was
so.
the computer translating it to English constantly for him? And then
I think
back,
the computer was translating.
and then
I
was
think
it translating it back to Rocky? Like he would talk and it would emit the tone back to Rocky?
Yeah, I don't think he was beeping at Rocky.
But the computer was beeping at Rocky.
Yeah.
That was one thing I was like, I'm lost on here. Like we quickly went from
On
us
how we're
like
doing this.
figuring out the clock to a week later, they're just like communicating, which is fine.
Yeah.
Wait, but then he does make several points about how sometimes he has to reference the dictionary. I actually don't think that that's crazy, just because, like, I mean, you had Morse code operators all the time that just dot dot dash.
Yeah,
dot,
no,
dot,
I'm not
dot,
crazy.
yeah.
I wasn't sure
Yeah.
about how
I
they
think
were.
I think it would have to be
logistically
that, because
capable.
I thought that it was sort of crazy that he was like able to do the tonal. Like that was actually way too quick.
A tone would be really
Well,
hard.
I mean, him being able to program the computer to give tone frequencies to then English language was way too quick. I mean, like, I think that it's also like very much like this guy was a polymath where he sort of was a genius at everything during it. But I mean, some people are polymaths. Maybe it was like a Leonardo da Vinci type, but I thought that was a bit quick. I think him understanding the notes, I think I mean, it was sheer exposure for a week. It was like 24 hours a day, which is like more than a semester's worth of language classes, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like crazy. I just think about Helen Keller and how she learned how to communicate. I mean, it's possible, obviously, to do these, even like a seemingly impossible communication. But I just thought that was another really fun and interesting aspect of the book, because you kind of get away. I mean, it's scientific in a way, but it's also like like you're saying, Phil, it's many different subjects.
It's so much science, and even the like, just like all the things that you would never think of if you run into another life form of what you would have to go about doing it. Like the fact that they had to like
watching him sleep.
Yeah, that was cool. That's like the I guess like social sciences of like other life.
Yeah.
There's more of it back to the actual science of just the atmospheres are completely different. So like they could never actually be together
in the same
like thing, because they had to develop this tube thing for Rocky to stay in. But yeah, all that stuff that just like the writer Andy Weir had to consider, that I thought he did a great job of just like, this is all the stuff you'd have to go through when you're meeting this completely new alien species that I think a lot of other times you run into like alien movies and stuff where it just like, it's just
not
fine.
thought out.
Like the alien's fine, like on Earth.
Yeah.
You got, they're like maybe not speaking the same, but they're existing in the same play. And none of that could happen in this book. Yet they had to both use science together to figure it out.
It reminded me a lot of the R.J. Barker, of his like mental, just talking through how this world works. Whereas just they didn't have roads. Why would you need things with wheels if everything was on? If everything was floating and you just had paths,
No
wheels
need
aren't
for
a thing.
a wheel.
Yeah, and then if you don't have a wheel to travel, you probably didn't think of a grist, like a wheel for anything. So you don't have
Yeah.
gears.
Right.
And that's like, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, Phil, everything was, and I didn't look at the scientific stuff about it, the scientific reality of it either, but I think everything was believable enough that even if you were someone who wanted to poke holes in a story, I think it would be very hard for you to poke holes in this one. And because I think the writing was so good and the characters were so good, you didn't want to, it was just all around really enjoyable to read. So good pick, Phil. I guess that's what
Yeah.
we'll say.
No,
Another
this wasn't my pick. This
I
was
think this was mine.
Isaac's. Yeah.
I read this. I
Isaac.
read this originally a couple years ago, and it was maybe in like 2023, and it was my favorite book that year for sure.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Sorry, Isaac. Yeah.
I read this and Ministry of the Future like simultaneously. I do not recommend that. A lot of like
Yeah.
climate.
You're like, the world is ending.
Yeah. I guess it would be tough because the Ministry of the Future is also one of my favorite books. So I don't know, but I loved this book the first time I read it, and
really
I loved
good.
it again this
Yeah.
time. I forgot a lot of stuff, so I was still like surprised by things, and I really appreciate, I think, the science aspect of it way more.
Yeah.
Reading it this time around. Another really cool theory, which is an actual like scientific theory, is that they talk about is the panspermia theory, that like all life shares a similar ancestor. So like how they were saying like Rocky and him understood
They
like the
came
same
from-
elements and stuff, because like them, astrophage and humans were all from the same life form at some point. So like life all started somewhere in the universe and then has just
With
like
something.
traveled and adapted. Is like just wild to think about.
It's actually
think, like,
funny.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's funny, Isaac. You said, like, well, they're aliens. They don't have to adhere to our physics. And I do think that that's right with biology. But I think the whole point of physics is that, like, they do actually. Like, everyone's dealing with the same physics. Whereas, like, no, and I think that that's actually what made this communication, that realization made it like a little bit more believable. You do.
Yeah. For
hydrogen's got one atom. Like, you can call it not an atom, but it's got one of those positive things.
Right.
And everyone who knows science at a certain level knows that. And that's how they were able to communicate. So like they started with the number of protons in what was it? It was a noble gas, xenon. What was the really cool
Xenonite
material?
was his material.
Right. So it was
from. Yeah.
Well, it's xenon, which is like a noble gas. And he was like, whoa, this doesn't make any sense. This is a stable atom. But that conversation was able to start based on the number of atoms in an element. And that's the same across the universe. So that I thought was pretty cool. I think that like the science aspect was like really blown away, but I will say I do think we're giving short shrift to the actual character development that he was able to do with a being that like wasn't human, I guess, which was cool.
Yeah, so great. You like Phoebe said, like, Rocky was this adorable being. Yeah, because he's not a human, but you didn't think of him as a pet. You know, he wasn't like a sidekick. Like, our main character, Grace, would have been, you know, hung out to dry without Rocky. They would not have been able to succeed without each other.
Yeah. I think he was able to do that because he didn't overdo the flashbacks and he didn't try to overdevelop any of the other characters. I think he was able to really focus. That was the beauty of this story, is because there was only two of them. So you're really able to focus on those two characters and develop them really well, which he did beautifully, I think.
Yeah. You didn't have to worry about what was happening on Earth at the time. It was kind of like an unknown, which as the reader, you want to know so bad. Did they get the thing? And then you kind of get it at the end, but you don't know like what happened to the Earth during that time.
I do think that my only critique is that the flashbacks could have been a bit better. I think that like the actual characters, his character development with him and Rocky was really good. His character development with the flashbacks was just like not really great. I don't think that besides I feel like his character with the woman could have been better. She was just like, you never really got to know her. With the fellow astronauts, same thing. And maybe the design of that was just to focus on him and Rocky. But I do think like with the flashbacks being such a big part of the book, like he was the only character in the flashback that actually like really brought anything out, I think. For me at least. But
I disagree. I think that the characters not being too developed in the flashback made you okay with his decision to stay on Rocky's planet, because he had no legitimate attachments that you as the reader were attached to by the end of the book. I had no issue with it, but
Yeah, I didn't mind
that's
it
me.
either. I think that if you had like learned more about the other astronauts that he was training or whatnot, it would just have been like that wasn't really the point, and they ended up
Kind of a
dying
downer.
anyway. You know, I think I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying, but it didn't really bug me that much.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do think it was sort of hard to pick like weaknesses of the book, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Agreed.
there was one of something that was very endearing about Rocky is like they're like learning this language together, and he must at like some point he taught him like fist bump when they like do something good.
yeah,
Like Rocky goes,
Oh
fist
yeah.
me.
fist me,
Yeah,
yeah,
like there's just so much good stuff we could talk about. Like when they figure out the
Yeah.
like the whole Talmiba breeding thing, and then like
yeah.
escaping from the multiple times, and then like having to figure that
Yeah.
out. Just the idea of like slowly breeding.
I think he
Right.
played the things going well and things going poorly like pretty well. I think, like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
think that
So true.
maybe like
Not all hope was
not all hope
lost.
was lost every time, but then also just like a bunch of stuff like didn't go as well.
Yeah,
Go
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
which like in space on like a
it was,
one-way trip
yeah,
to save the Earth, like yeah, things are gonna go pretty bad. I
yeah,
would think a
Badly.
lot of the
Right.
time.
yeah,
Yeah. But things didn't go like too good either, because I think in stories you get that a lot where it's these unbelievable things are happening. It's like, no, there is a lot of challenges. You're in space
yeah.
on a one-way
Yeah,
trip, so it was a good balance. Really good point, Phil.
I did really like the
I think
ending. I thought that he tied it up
you like
well
the
as
ending.
yeah, just
I did
yeah.
too. I really liked it. I know it's almost easier to talk about a book that had a lot of flaws. I think this is just like our takeaways, like just read this book.
Yeah.
I think yeah, if you're going to read one book this year, maybe even if you don't, this is my thing. Like I had a hard time convincing some people to try to read this book because it's sci-fi. And I will say, even if you do not like sci-fi, I am a staunch like post-apocalyptic. I will not read, will not finish. And I love this book. So don't shy away from it because of that. I think you will be missing out for sure. And I would give it a 5 out of 5. So great recommendation to the podcast, Isaac.
thank you. Yeah, I would give it a 5 too.
Mhm.
I I think it's my favorite sci-fi book ever.
Ever.
Yeah, I don't read
For
that much
sure.
sci-fi either. My rec is Red Rising, which I guess is technically sci-fi, but I put that more in like the sci-fi, like fantasy realm. Whereas this is very much like pure sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd give
Phil?
it a 5 too. It was extremely enjoyable to read. I think that it was like very hard to. I think it was hard to like poke holes in, and just like a lot of
Yeah.
good aspects for everybody. I think so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would. So we were talking earlier, and or Isaac, you mentioned, I said it was a feel good book more so. I mean, obviously it was sci-fi, but because I think it was so approachable, it also was such a feel good book to me. So books like that are like The Rosie Project, which we've read for the podcast, or like Man Called Uve, where it's really this you're just reading about an interpersonal relationship that's just written in such a way that's so interesting and unique that is actually a good book, which I think is challenging to do. So those would be my recommendations if you liked Project Hail Mary, or if you like those books, you should read Project Hail Mary. Phil, what about you?
Mine would be Pathfinder by Orson Scott Card. I do think that like Orson Scott Card, his science fiction, at least in Ender's Game and Pathfinder, are just like very much like this. I think that everyone like Ender's Game is another sci-fi where I would recommend that to anybody. It's like it's so approachable and it's so good, and it's but the Pathfinder's a little bit different. It's a little less sci-fi, a little more fantasy, but again, just like the characters are just really, really good, and it's a little bit less talked about than Ender's Game. So,
Yeah. I think I've read Ender's Game, actually, now that you're saying that, Phil. I should
You
reread that.
have to because you've recommended it, I believe, on the podcast.
This is getting
Nice.
pathetic. Oh my God.
nice.
I'm pretty sure maybe somebody,
I think I have
maybe a
too.
super fan could find that episode for us, but I'm pretty sure you have recommended it.
Yeah, woof. Okay. Dang. Isaac, what's your recommendation?
It's Red Rising by Pierce Brown. It's a
right.
whole series. Like I said, more on the sci-fi fantasy realm than sci-fi, but a great trilogy. And I believe there's 3 more.
Yeah.
There's like a post trilogy too, but I haven't.
There's he just came out with the 7th, so there's a trilogy and then a post trilogy, and then I think the I don't know if he's doing if the second one is a series of 4 or he's starting another trilogy, but yeah.
I want to read Red Rising. I've seen it a lot. I should give that a read.
It's good. I will say Project Hail Mary and Red Rising are like the 2 most book talk books of all time.
I feel like Red
Wow.
Rising is all over the book Instagram.
Yeah.
Trendy.
So is Project Hail
for
Mary.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I
haven't
seen
seen
less
Project
Hail
Hail.
Mary.
I haven't seen it as much.
It's not as
Yeah.
much as Red Rising, but it's the
Maybe after
the
the
one that
podcast.
like people who are like
Want to get views.
you've heard all about like this and this. Try this out, but everyone is saying like try this
Already,
out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, it is coming out as a movie too. I don't know if we said that on this one or the last one.
yeah. So
No, but I
Ryan
think
Gosling.
it is. Yes, it is coming out. Ryan Gosling is starring in it. And yeah, and I also I didn't like The Martian. I didn't like Interstellar. We were talking about that at a time because I just don't like that post-apocalyptic feel. And this was not, I loved this. So even if you didn't like any of those, I still recommend this book to you. So as always, before we go, we like to talk about what we're reading next time. Genderqueer. It is by Maya Kobabe. Isaac, would you just tell us briefly about that?
Yeah, Genderqueer is a graphic novel memoir about the author's journey of self-discovery regarding their gender identity and sexuality, exploring themes of adolescence, coming out, and the finding of one's place in the world.
Yeah, and we have not read a graphic novel, so I'm excited to do something a little different, which is always great.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever read a graphic novel, so
I have not.
Yeah,
I know you
Even as a
haven't,
kid?
Isaac, because you keep calling it a comic book. So
well, it's like the same thing.
No, it's not.
I read a Star Wars comic book, which was like pretty thick, so I feel like that was maybe a graphic novel way back when.
Cool. So, yes, we will be reading that next time. Looking forward to doing something a little different. And this is your bi-weekly reminder to call someone that you love, tell them that you love them, tell them about a good book that you've read. It should be Project Hail Mary. And until we talk again, stay classy, second pagers. We'll see you later.
Let's go beyond
Bye, guys.
the first page.
See you guys.